Hello, welcome to SquishiVision. My name is Harris. I did not realize today was a bank holiday, but it is, so I get to watch this a bit earlier in the day than I was originally going to. I've also updated how my background works, so rather than the sharpened screen cap image, it's now this, which hopefully isn't too distracting and blaring, but adds a bit more kind of diversity to the image and makes it look a bit more cleaner. So this is my reactions to Star Trek Picard Monsters. My immediate reactions, having just watched it, so I've not really had much time to kind of consider details or scan through it for, like, you know, Easter eggs or something. This isn't what this is about. This is my immediate reaction having just watched it. So yeah, it wasn't as spoopy as I was afraid it was going to be based on the previous flashbacks, but perhaps I haven't seen the worst of it. And I guess I guess I haven't been told the entire story, but there was, like, not quite there yet. But so, as expected, we delve into Picard's mind and kind of look a bit more about his memories, but we don't really get the full picture. Nothing's explicit. It's all kind of alluded to. James Callis, I think that's his name. Quick Google before I say something wrong. On this keyboard I'm typing on sideways for some reason. I always forget this dude's name. Yeah, James Callis. Who I always think is like spitting image of Alexander Siddig, who plays Julian Bashir in Deep Space Nine, or at least he's like very close. Like, so first time I ever saw James Callis was in The Musketeers, BBC's Musketeers, where he appears twice in the first and second season. And I was like, when the first time he appeared, it was like, oh, is that Alexander Siddig? I love Alexander Siddig. I don't know, it's really a bit off by his face, and then I watched it a bit more, and I saw the credits, and it wasn't Alexander Siddig, it was James Callis. And I was like, the way he speaks, the way he holds himself, the way his face is, he looks very similar to Alexander Siddig. And then he's in Merlin. So I saw him in Merlin, and now he's in here, and it's kind of full circle because now he's back in Star Trek. He's not back in Star Trek. He's now in Star Trek. So we got both Alexander Siddig and James Callis. And I love James. And James Callis is a great actor. Very much for the same reason that Alexander Siddig is. He's got a kind of nuance to him, and he appears in an episode as what appears to be a Starfleet counselor, a therapist, but is it revealed to actually just be a manifestation of Picard's memories of his father. So he plays Picard's dad. Yeah. And so we start off with Picard's basically in what is kind of framed as a therapy session, and Picard's kind of being vague and not really giving answers as much as, you know, Star Trek, Starfleet captains are kind of are with their kind of evaluations and their checkups and stuff. And this kind of is giving he's going for that vibe of being, well, you know, if you're gonna be hostile with me, I'll be hostile with you. I'm not gonna push them out. I don't care. That kind of disinterest that they have kind of provoke people into, like, speaking. And he kind of prompts Picard into, like, telling a story, and Picard kind of frames an incident with his mother in a kind of fairy tale setting. So we get to that kind of a flashback. And always happening currently in his mind is the memory he's stuck in, and eventually Taryn? Oh gosh, I forgot what her name is now. But she kind of enters to try and, I guess, give another perspective, although, like, to get him unstuck, but I'm not entirely sure what her presence really does ultimately end to kind of do that. He seems to figure it out by himself, actually, with very little prompting. But she kind of helps the child version of Picard, who, I mean, the actor does an alright job. He's a bit too child actor-y, shall we say, which I guess is probably because he is a child actor, but yeah, you know what I mean. Anyway, what was I saying? So, I'm getting a coding overload, probably because of all the fancy graphic stuff I'm doing in the background. Maybe it's probably better if I pre-render this and then play it rather than render it procedurally, which shouldn't take actually too hard to do. Probably only take like 5 seconds. I might just do that actually going forward. Anyway, where was I? Well, we'll get through it quickly, and if it's causing issues, plus I might test it out. Mind blocked. Yeah, so I was suspecting this was gonna be a domestic violence kind of theme, you know, playing off Picard, Patrick Stewart's real experience and kind of bringing that into Star Trek and bringing that into the story and making him infer a bit more about his character, with a bit of kind of mental health put into it. But actually, this seems to now be playing it rather than his mother being a victim of domestic violence from his father. She was simply going through her own mental health illnesses. And that those are the monsters, which is a fair plot line to do. Actually, it's quite fine. I think this episode, you know, portrays it very, very well and respectfully. Even though we haven't got the full story yet, and so the father was trying to protect them both, and ultimately couldn't, I guess, save her mother. I guess I don't know. Maybe it's gonna be a suicide rather than a murder. But we haven't got to that part of the story yet. But I think, you know, she was having a moment of darkness of her internal monsters, and she needed to like flee into the catacombs below the chalet, and the father was like bringing them back. So that was that plot line. There's some monsters, but I guess they're like not really important. Rios has a job of basically introducing, I forget her name now, but the Doctor and her son to Back to Life in the future, which, you know, he's kind of forced to do because the point I think that you run out of excuses as time traveler. I guess kind of annoying to me as a viewer. But yeah, so that happens, and he even like takes a line from Voyage Home where Kirk is like, I'm from Iowa, I think he's from Iowa. I just work in space, and he's like, I'm from Chile. I just work in space. So it's cute, and he brings him to their ship, kind of prove his point. I do think if anything, the Doctor is able to like use this futuristic medical scanner. I mean, it's you know, it's cool that she's a great doctor. She knows like all this kind of medical stuff. But I think that's kind of still a barred access to basically use it. How even the first step, how does she know which button to use? Even if it does all the work for her, how does she know which button to use? And if it does all the work for her, why couldn't Rios do it? You know. Anyway, so that's that plot line. And then the third one is Seven and Raffi trying to track down Jurati, and they get this is a minimal part of the episode, probably a couple of minutes, but Jurati kind of is trying to get more of an endorphin rush so she can, well, so the Borg Queen can basically be born, take over her body. This is apparently how Borg Queens are made and born, and this is bad obviously because it's like 21st century Earth and they're not ready for that. And we had an interesting note where apparently a camera caught Picard teleporting in. You'd think they'd kind of be able to kind of get around that, but he teleports in and the FBI are like, aha, aliens, and arrests both him and Guinan, who can't actually we got some second bigger point. And yeah, they get arrested, and that's kind of now a episode 8 problem to deal with. Hopefully not as quickly dealt on, significantly dealt with as Rios' kind of arrest, but that kind of happens. So we see what happens a bit more there. It's hopefully yeah, I don't know, it's usually these things in the past are quite fun when dealt in Star Trek, but we'll see how serious this is dealt with. Yeah, and she's like, yeah, I like the way that the FBI did kind of like stylistically went into conversation, being like, Alex, sci-fi, hey, check out this video of you teleporting in. We get a bit more of the kind of actually get a kind of explanation about why Guinan does the kind of jazz hands things in what's the episode of the QQ where the Borg first appear in and Q is there, and Q meets Guinan on the ship the first time, and Guinan puts her hands up. People are always like, well, what's that about? It turns out that the Elorians are able to kind of sense some nature about Q's. Or I mean, they have more power, but we get more, bit more. Actually, we get explicit with the connection between them. Apparently, you know, the Elorians have powers so significant that the Q's had a kind of Cold War with them, and eventually a truce was formed. And that truce allows them to kind of summon the Q whenever they want, or summon a specific Q, and I see banish them as well. But it doesn't work. They're not able to summon Q. I'm going to assume, very likely, that that's because Q isn't Q right now. We saw he wasn't able to use his powers, so he's kind of been depowered, and it doesn't quite work. So that's kind of all the details of this episode. I'm gonna end on a 10-minute note because 10 minutes kind of good point to end on, and also so I can see what's happening with this OBS, if it's working properly, if I need to kind of pre-render for stuff in the future. And what else was I gonna say? But yeah, it's a nice kind of, well, in the middle point, but it's not. It's episode 7 of 12. 7 of 12, something like. Can you imagine? Yeah, we get a bit more details. I think it was kind of a slow episode, but also a bit more Picard focused. I think I didn't mind season 1, but I think it wasn't Picard focused enough. This is a bit more Picard focused, which kind of helps. We get a bit more history about Picard. Not only that, but a bit more of the kind of character and history, and then it kind of furthers the story as well. But the story doesn't further too much, but it's a very self-contained episode. Anyway, as I mentioned yesterday in my Moon Knight video, I need to enter the station, so I'm gonna go do that. So thanks for watching, and I will probably see you guys. Why isn't this working? Oh, it is. It's taking a while. Yeah, okay, fine. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you guys probably on Wednesday for the next episode of Moon Knight. No, I just need to wait for this signal to come.